They smiled for the cameras, dazzled audiences worldwide, but behind the golden gates of Hollywood's most glamorous studios, children were quietly suffering, and nobody said a word. The golden age of Hollywood was built on a dark foundation. Child stars pushed to their limits, diagnosed with conditions, their studios buried, and families paid to stay silent. These weren't just troubled kids. They were systematically silenced victims of an industry protecting its image at all costs. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the sick children. Old Hollywood desperately tried to erase from history the diagnoses, the cover-ups, and one shocking case that will completely change how you see a beloved classic forever. Jacqueline Suzanne, Irving Mansfield, and their son Guy Hildy Mansfield, was born on December 6, 1946, the only child of best-selling novelist Jacqueline Suzanne and television producer Irving Mansfield. From his earliest years, the signs were deeply troubling. Guy would scream uncontrollably, bang his head against the wall, and gradually lost the few words he had managed to learn, quiet warnings that something was seriously wrong. At age 3, he was evaluated by Dr. Loretta Bender, a prominent child psychiatrist, who diagnosed him with autism, a condition barely understood at the time. She treated Guy with electroconvulsive therapy. When that failed, she advised the Mansfields to place him at the Emma Pendleton Bradley Home, a residential psychiatric facility for children in Riverside, Rhode Island. The family kept his condition completely secret from the press. Friends were told Guy was attending school in Arizona to manage severe asthma. Those close to the couple believed his parents held on to genuine hope for his recovery and desperately wanted to shield him from the stigma that such a diagnosis carried in that era. As of 2000, Guy remained in specialized care, continuing to receive regular family visits. Richard Burton, Sybil Williams, and their daughter. Jessica Richard Burton and Sybil Williams had 2 daughters together. Kate, born in 1957, and Jessica, born 2 years later, while the family was living in Celigny, Switzerland. Almost from the very beginning, Jessica's life unfolded entirely away from public view. She was diagnosed with severe autism, accompanied by serious psychiatric conditions. A heartbreaking combination that in that era left families with very few options beyond institutional care. According to her sister, Kate Burton, Jessica was placed in a residential facility at just 6 years old, and what began as a placement quietly became permanent. Kate has spoken openly about how her sister spent decades in institutional care and how providing for Jessica remained a constant and deeply felt family responsibility. In a 2003 interview, Kate confirmed Jessica was living in a facility in the United States, severely autistic and requiring full-time care. Almost nothing about her daily life has ever been made public. No career, no interviews, no appearances of any kind. The one detail shared with clarity was financial. Richard Burton earned enough to ensure Jessica would receive the finest care available for the rest of her life. David Tomlinson, Audrey Freeman, and their son Willie. Willie Tomlinson, the third son of beloved British actor David Tomlinson and his wife Audrey Freeman, grew up in England during a time when autism was barely recognized, let alone understood. As a young child, Willie displayed clear signs of the condition, yet obtaining any formal diagnosis was itself a deeply uncertain process. Families in those years were largely left without guidance. Specialized schools were scarce, trained teachers nearly impossible to find, and there was no shared language for describing children who did not speak or respond the way others expected. Rather than retreat into silence, David and Audrey chose action. They joined roughly 20 other families to help establish Somerset Court, widely regarded as the first residential community in Europe created specifically for adults with autism. Willie later became a resident there and eventually moved to a nearby sister facility where he found genuine purpose and independence. He had his own workshop and developed into a truly skilled woodworker. David also used his considerable fame to raise funds, drawing support from Robert Morley, Ian Carmichael, Felicity, Kendall, and most remarkably, the Beatles themselves, a testament to one father's extraordinary determination. Robert Redford, Lola Van Wagenen, and their sons, Scott and James Robert Redford, and Lola Van Wagenen's firstborn son, Scott Anthony Redford, was born in 1959, but lived only 2.5 months, dying of sudden infant death syndrome, a condition that strikes without warning during sleep and offers no chance to intervene. Scott was laid to rest before his father's name had become known to the world. Years later, the family faced another devastating crisis. At just 25, their son James was diagnosed with primary sclerosing cholangitis, a rare disease that progressively scars the bile ducts and ultimately threatens the liver. In 1993, he underwent 2 liver transplants. He survived and later became a filmmaker and passionate advocate for organ donation, turning profound personal suffering into meaningful public purpose. Decades later, cancer was discovered in his bile ducts while he awaited a 3rd transplant. James Redford passed away in 2020 at the age of 58. Scott died in infancy. James lived fully before illness claimed him. 2 sons, 2 losses, and a grief that no amount of fame could ever shield a father from carrying. Red Skelton, Georgia Davis and their son, Richard Red Skelton, and Georgia Davis had 2 children together. Their son Richard was born in 1948, a boy full of life whose time would be cut unbearably short. When Richard was just 9 years old, doctors delivered a crushing diagnosis: leukemia. They told the family he likely had no more than a year to live. The news reshaped everything immediately. The television network generously offered Skelton unlimited time away from work, but he made the difficult and deeply personal decision to return in January 1957. He believed that keeping life as normal and stable as possible was the most meaningful gift he could offer his son. The family also gave Richard the world, quite literally. They took him on an extended trip abroad so he could experience as much as possible. On July 22, 1957, they were granted a private audience with Pope Pius XII, a moment Richard later described as the greatest highlight of the entire journey. When his condition worsened, the family returned home to the United States. Richard Skelton died in Los Angeles on May 10, 1958, just 10 days before his 10th birthday. Burt Bacharach, Angie Dickinson, and their daughter Nikki, Leah Nikki Bacharach, was born on July 12, 1966, 3 months premature and weighing less than 29 ounces, just under 2 pounds. She spent her earliest weeks isolated in a hospital incubator, while doctors worked around the clock to keep her alive, deprived of the ordinary human touch that most newborns receive without a second thought. The consequences of that traumatic birth followed her throughout childhood. Nikki developed significant vision problems and a crossed eye that later prevented her from pursuing her interest in geology at California Lutheran University. She did not speak until age 3. Deeper struggles were sensory and behavioral. She was withdrawn, intensely rigid in her routines, and easily overwhelmed by noise and unexpected change. For years, doctors offered no clear diagnosis, describing her condition only as unspecified behavioral problems. At 14, Nikki was hospitalized for psychiatric treatment, a decision Angie Dickinson later described as the worst thing ever done to her daughter. A proper Asperger's syndrome diagnosis came only after the condition was formally recognized in the American Psychiatric Manual in 1994. Nikki Bacharach passed away on January 4, 2007, at the age of 40. Julie Newmar, J. Holt Smith, and their son, John Jules Smith, was born in 1981. The only child of actress Julie Newmar and businessman J. Holt Smith. Newmar was 48 years old at the time, and after 3 previous miscarriages, his arrival felt nothing short of miraculous. John was born with Down syndrome. His early challenges did not end there. As a toddler, John contracted meningitis. He survived the infection, but it left him permanently deaf. John is nonverbal, and Newmar made the deeply committed decision to learn sign language so she could remain genuinely connected to her son. She has spoken warmly about how visual experiences became John's primary window into the world, and how that shaped everything about the life they built together. The family arranged their daily routines entirely around John's needs and joys. He lived at home with his mother, created artwork, attended painting classes, and spent quiet hours together in the garden. In later years, scoliosis began to limit his mobility. Newmar employed 2 long-term assistants to help manage meals, household tasks, and John's personal care. What comes through most clearly in everything Newmar has shared is not burden, but pure, unwavering devotion. Ed Asner, Carol Jean Vogelman, and their son Charlie. Ed Asner's youngest son Charlie was diagnosed with high-functioning autism when he was around 8 or 9 years old. Before that diagnosis arrived, the family had no clear framework for what they were witnessing. Charlie struggled socially, had real difficulty connecting with classmates, and displayed behaviors that adults easily misread as deliberate defiance or indifference. Asner later admitted candidly that he had once simply seen his son as rambunctious and rule-breaking until doctors offered a far more compassionate and accurate explanation. The diagnosis changed everything. It reframed the past and redirected the family's future. Charlie's autism became a cause that Asner carried into his public life with characteristic passion and directness. He spoke openly about what genuine communication with his son truly required: patience, careful repetition, and deliberately chosen words. He described learning to slow himself down and ensure every thought landed the way it was intended. That commitment extended beyond Charlie. Ed's eldest son, Matthew, later discovered several of his own children were on the spectrum and helped establish the Ed Asner Family Center, dedicated to neurodivergent individuals and the families who support them.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new videos. See you in the next one.